From the 90.7 WMCO Geyer Studio, you're tuned in to the Muskie Sports Blast, where we take a deep dive into the Muskie Pond to learn more about the impact the Muskie athletes have on and off the playing field. Always surprising, always fun. This is the Muskie Sports Blast on 90.7 The Orbit.
Hello and welcome to the Muskie Sports Blast here on the Orbit 90.7. I'm Gracie Collins, joined tonight by the Muskingum women's basketball team. Tonight I have freshmen Kenzie, Bicking, and Halle, Morehead. How are you both doing tonight, especially nearing the end of the semester finally?
Feels good to be towards the end of the semester, and we're excited to play basketball this month of December.
How about you, Kenzie?
Yeah, it's great. We have a lot of great games coming up. It should be fun to watch.
So, since our last Muskie Sports Blast, your record has moved to 4-2. The last time I interviewed your team, you were undefeated at 4-0. Halle, have these last two losses affected the team morale at all, do you think?
I think it's just this past week of practice, it has driven us as a team to be a little more competitive at practice and tone in on our goals and just move on from the losses and learn from it and see where it takes us next.
Absolutely. What about you, Kenzie? How has it affected you or your team?
I think that it really made us just refocus, and it kind of made us realize that, we can lose, and as good as we were playing, and we weren't untouchable, and I think it just really kind of humbled us and made us refocus for these next couple games.
Mm-hmm. So first, looking at the Oberlin game, Halle, what do you think was missing from that game to cause the loss?
Against the Oberlin, I think we came in and we had some high hopes. We knew there were going to be some good competition, but ultimately they had some driving factors on the inside, and they ultimately won those 50-50 balls that we should have, and we just need to get back to refocusing and working hard and winning those 50-50 balls and be the scrappy team that we are.
So, Kenzie, your team ended that night 26 for 62 from the field. How do you feel about your team's shooting up against Oberlin?
I think typically we make a lot of those shots, and just that night they weren't falling. So, we have a lot of shooters on this team, and shooters shoot. So I think that it's important that mentally we can just keep locking in, keep taking those shots, keep getting good shots, and I think they're going to fall.
So this one is for both of you. Halle, I know you touched on it a little bit. Even though it was a loss, what can you learn from that game?
Yeah, that game, I think it really helped us learn how to defend the interior. And obviously we played against Kenyon also, and they had a good interior post player. But I think it helped us hone in on our defense a little bit. We realized that the little things on defense make us who we are, and against Oberlin and Kenyon, we didn't do those little things, and it really hurt us.
How about you, Kenzie? What did you learn from that Oberlin game?
I think we learned how important it was to play 4 quarters of basketball. At the end of the game, we really made a run and made it a good game. We started off kind of slow, which kind of hurt us throughout the game, and we took a punch in the face kind of early. But I think we just learned that we have to play the entire game, and we'll be successful.
Mm-hmm. So your second game was on November 27th against Kenyon, where you fell short 83-77. In the opening quarter, you were up 26-18, and one of your teammates, Abby Jones, had an awesome night with a career high of 27 points for the team. Halle, what do you think happened to the team after that first quarter to allow Kenyon to come back?
It ultimately goes back to our defense, and shots weren't falling. They were winning those 50-50 balls, and Abby did have a great night, and ultimately we're going to have bad days, but we're getting back to work, and we're working to correct those things and see where it takes us.
Absolutely. That's a great attitude to have about it. And Kenzie, is there anything you learned from that game that you plan to carry into the start of OAC play that's coming up very soon?
I think our team learned that, like Halle said, the 50-50 balls, they really have to go our way. We're kind of undersized, especially for an OAC team, and so I think that our hustle and our defense really is important.
What about you, Halle? Is there anything that you've learned from these past two games, especially like about holding on to those leads that you're hoping to carry into the OAC play?
It's definitely, we're going to have to play 4 quarters of basketball. In the past 2 games, we haven't done so. And by playing 4 quarters of basketball, we were really successful at the beginning of the season. And in order to play OAC play, it's going to be really important.
So maybe free throws, ball handling, 3-point shots. Before you head into OAC play, is there anything your team really wants to work on improving? I'll start with you, Kenzie.
I think, especially this past week, we've really worked on our defense. And I think also we're a really young team, so just getting that chemistry and getting those reps together, I think that's really important for us to grow. And I think that once we get that, we're going to be have a chance to be special.
What about you, Halle? Is there anything you're hoping to improve before you get into the start of OAC play?
I think once OAC play, shot selection is going to be really important to our game. Getting the best shot with the correct amount of time on the shot clock is going to be really important. And honing in our defense. I mean, ultimately our defense starts our offense. And the past 2 games that hasn't happened. And going into OAC play, in order to play 4 quarters, we're going to have to play on both sides of the floor.
Well, despite those 2 losses, I don't want to overshadow how great of a start that this season has been with the 4-win streak in the beginning of the season, one of your best seasons in a very long time. It's a great way to head into this tough conference play. Halle, how are you feeling about starting conference play? Do you feel your team is prepared?
I think we have a chance to be a threat, and we need to show that starting at the start of the OAC play. And I think we can be special and a threat, and it's going to take a lot of focus the next couple of weeks in order to make that happen.
So you open up conference play this Saturday, December 4th, where you will host John Carroll, who sits at 4-0 currently. Kenzie, how are the Muskies preparing for that game?
We're really focusing on our defense. They have 2 All-American posts inside, and that's obviously, I think that's going to be a challenge for us, but I think that if we stick to our game plan and we really keep working together and just trust what we can do, I think that we have a chance to upset them.
All right, and with that, we are going to take a quick break before we get into some more basketball questions. I'm joined tonight by Kenzie Bicking and Halle Morehead. I'm Gracie Collins, and you're listening to the Orbit 90.7. Welcome back to the Muskie Sports Blast here on the Orbit 90.7. I'm Gracie Collins, joined tonight by the Muskingum women's basketball team. Tonight, I'm joined by freshmen Kenzie Bicking and Halle Morehead. So, Kenzie, I want to go back to what we were talking about before the break. You were talking about how John Carroll has the All-American post. How do you prepare for something like that going and getting ready to play against them this Saturday?
We're really just focused on our team defense, and it's going to be a challenge inside, but we have really good posts too. And I think that, if they can contain them, our guards we can come and help. And I think just really buying into the team defense is really going to be important for us.
So comparing yours and John Carroll's stats, I mean, this is almost as even as it can get. You both average 81 points per game, and then your 3-point percentage is 35, while theirs is close behind with 32%. Halle, what do you think will be crucial to winning this game against John Carroll?
I think it's just going to be really crucial to play our game besides, obviously, the threats that they have. I think just limiting the 2 All-Americans touches is going to be really essential to our game plan, and just playing our game and knowing that they're threats, and we got to take that into consideration, but ultimately we can be a threat too. So there were a couple stats that John Carroll did notably excel in, though. One of them was that they were shooting at 80% from the free throw line, while Muskingum is at 69%. Kenzie, are free throws something that you have been working on recently?
Yeah, we shoot a lot of free throws at practice, and we have some pressure on them. If we miss them, we have to run. So I think that as the season progresses and the more that we keep doing stuff like that, I think our free throws are definitely going to improve.
Mm-hmm. And now just to look at the two of you both as individual players, because I want to end the gameplay on a positive note, especially with such a great start to the season that you've had. I'll start with you, Halle. What are you most proud of personally in your playing so far this season?
I've always taken a lot of pride in my defensive efforts and just hard work in general, and I think that's what gets me on the floor. And I hope that my energy directly affects my teammates' energy, which high energy in a basketball game is really important, and I think that's what a driving factor should be for us every day.
And how about you, Kenzie? What would you say are you most proud of so far of yourself this season?
I think I've started shooting at a better percentage, than I at least had been. And I've always prided myself on my ability to kind of hype people up and, like Halle said, keep that energy rolling. And I think that I've done a decent job at that.
So as two younger girls on the team, is there a certain player that you feel has sort of taken you under their wing as sort of a mentor? I'll start with you, Halle.
Yeah, I really idolize Tanner. She's obviously a senior. She has a lot of experience, and we all make mistakes, but Tanner shares the same role as me as a point guard, and I really value her as a player and an individual.
How about you, Kenzie? Was there any older player that sort of took you under their wing?
I think, Tanner too, as a guard, myself as well. She really took me under her wing, and, when I was struggling, when I wasn't making shots, she always made sure to hype me up. And Sarah Miller as well. When we're struggling and things aren't necessarily going great, they always make sure to tell us, like, hey, you got this, like, next play, keep your head up. And I think that's really important for the young people on this team.
So, Halle, I'll start with you. How were you recruited to play for the Muskingum women's basketball team?
So my story's a little crazy. I actually didn't want to play college basketball, and Coach Eaton reached out to me my junior year, and I kind of just brushed it off my shoulder. And then my senior year, I realized that I wasn't ready to be done playing, and I reached out back to Coach Eaton, and then it's all history from there.
What made you choose Muskingum of all schools that you could have gone to?
I really like the small-town atmosphere here. I think that the professors and teachers are really dedicated to getting the most out of me, and just besides basketball, academics are really important, and that's important to me.
How about you, Kenzie? How were you recruited here?
My AAU coach reached out, to some schools that he thought that I might be interested in, and I got a response back from Coach. She ended up coming to one of my games, and we lost pretty bad. I think it was like 80-20, but she really showed that she cared about us, and she came to a lot of my games, and I knew I wanted to be here.
Was there anything about Muskingum itself that drew you in, or was it mostly the team?
I also, like Halle said, I love the small town, but all I heard coming in was just how close this whole team was and how much they all cared about each other. And since I've been here, that's been proven right over and over again. Everyone cares about each other so much, and it's just great. That's
awesome. So, Halle, do you have any sort of pregame routine or any superstitions before a game?
I'm a very superstitious person. I always wear the same hair tie, and that's just something that I've always done. And pregame, I always eat the same thing. I usually I make myself a sandwich before every game, but other than that, I'm a very superstitious person about my hair ties.
How about you, Kenzie? Do you have any pregame routines or superstitions?
I just make sure, at least for home games, I always try to be one of the first people on the court and get shots up. I shoot a lot of free throws. I don't shoot many during games, but I shoot a lot of free throws during warm-ups. And I always put my right shoe on before my left shoe, which is kind of random, but...
So, Kenzie, what do you listen to in the locker room to prepare for a game?
Honestly, I just kind of listen to whatever's on the speaker. I don't have a set playlist myself, but just whatever's kind of going on or playing.
Halle, are you the same way? Do you usually listen to your own music, or are you listening with the team?
Occasionally, my teammate, me, Malene, and I will go shoot out together, and I just listen to whatever's on her playlist.
So I just have one more question before we get into our last break. I'll start with you, Kenzie. Which player on the team brings the most energy and why?
I gotta go. Leah Smith, she's my hype man. She, I don't know, we're always dancing together on the bench, dancing together on the court. Also, Caitlin Amosimo, she's hurt right now, but you gotta love the energy. Whenever she's sitting out, you can always hear her yelling.
What are your thoughts, Halle?
I think Caitlin's really important, even though she's hurt right now. She plays an important role on the bench for us. She's a really positive person off whenever she was on the court and off the court, and I think that's really important to hear some different voices sometimes.
Awesome. And with that, we are going to take one last break before we get into the fun questions. I'm joined tonight by freshmen Kenzie, Bicking, and Halle Morehead. I'm Gracie Collins, and you're listening to the Orbit 90.7 FM. That's all we have for tonight's Muskie Sports Blast. Thank you both for coming in, Halle and Kenzie, for joining us tonight. The Muskingum women's basketball team plays next this Saturday, opening up conference play against John Carroll. My name is Gracie Collins, and you're listening to the Orbit 90.7.
Thank you for listening to the Muskie Sports Blast on 90.7 WMCO. Make sure you tune in to the Muskie Sports Blast at 8 p.m. every weeknight except Wednesdays to see what's happening in Muskie sports. Also, check out orbitmediaonline.com for a full list of broadcasts scheduled. This is WMCO, your home for Fighting Muskie Sports.